don't really intend to get political too much on this channel, but there's one thing that just really annoys me, and that's I've just come to despise Europeans, basically. And a lot of it comes from like hurt of things were so much different when I was a kid growing up, and I was basically just inculcated with a love of Europe, that they were our true friends, and in particular Great Britain, that we were supposed to have some kind of emotional connection to them, and that they were, truly our friends. And I think the internet has been a huge wake-up call to a lot of Americans that these people actually despise us, which is shocking. We're still friendly with a lot of governments in Europe. Obviously, we have alliances with them and stuff, and that's all fine. I think we should continue to partner with them when our interests align. I think we do have common interests in controlling rogue states like Russia and China. But I think that the way we treat them needs to change because of the way that they actually feel about us and the way that they treat us. I think that's one area where Trump is absolutely correct. And like I said, the internet has been a huge wake-up call. You see the stuff they say about Americans and the way they feel about Americans and our country and our people. And it's disgraceful, and it's having a huge impact on the way our young people view their own country. I see these criticisms that are oftentimes just ridiculous, because most of the European hatred of us is just sheer resentment. Like, they just hate the influence that we have and the strength and power that we have. I mean, I'm sorry if that sounds arrogant, but it's not really even out of arrogance. It's just kind of like matter of fact. That's the fact, because like I said, when I was a kid before the internet, our Americans' instinct was to just have nothing but good feelings towards Europeans. I mean, we thought they were best friends. I mean, we thought when we encountered them, it would be like all good, But then the internet came and we realized they fucking hate our guts. It was like a shock. So this isn't any kind of like popping off arrogant, like, oh, we're bigger and stronger than you. No, it's just like noticing their behavior, Like, you can tell when your friend's jealous of you and like secretly hates you, you know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever had a friend like that, but it's just that's the clear vibe. And it just is what it is. We need to understand that these people aren't really our friends, They don't get down with us like that, That's just not the way they feel towards us. And you can see it in the governments, the way they act, But yeah, like, our young people are starting to adopt. This was already a problem, just with the left in Western society and in the U.S. in general, with our young people just believing every negative narrative about their own country and their own economic system and their own political system. And I don't know how much of that originally came from like the Soviets, because that was a huge focus of the Soviets during the Cold War, was to try to spread negative beliefs about the U.S. Of course it was, and we were trying to do the same thing with the Soviets. So I used to think that's where a lot of it was coming from, but I think a lot of it's just coming from Europeans. Like, ever since the internet, our young people interact with people around the world, and a lot of people around the world just don't like us. And I'm not saying that we're immune to criticism. There are probably legitimate criticisms that people have. But as far as the Europeans, I mean, we've been nothing but good to these people. And like, really, if you look at it objectively, I mean, we've spent such a high percentage of our GDP to provide them with a defense shield for 75 years. And that has allowed them to spend virtually nothing on defense. And so they spend all their money on all these social programs. And then they turn around and talk about how they're a superior people because of all their social programs. And they're like really obnoxious about it. They're really hateful about this stuff, about how superior they are. You would have thought that the Europeans would have changed because they had a problem for 500 years about thinking they were superior to everybody else. But they haven't changed one bit. They're still on this thing about how they're superior and we're just these savage colonials or something. And the thing about it is, so much of it is just like total delusion. They believe things that aren't true. They talk like they're like richer and more sophisticated and stuff than Americans. Like it seems to be a sincere belief. Like that's what their government tells them. But if you just look at statistics that are readily available online, Americans are much richer than Europeans. Our median income and our GDP per capita and everything is our standard of living is just much higher than Europeans. And they don't seem to realize that seems to be what they try to flex on. It's like, are you Americans in like a third world country? It's like, what are you talking about? We're way more developed than you guys. And again, this isn't something I would have said. I'm not saying it from a position of arrogance. I know they're going to try to flip it around, be like arrogant American. You know, it's like they insult you to your face and say that you're a poor Mississippi. Well, guess what? Mississippi is richer than any place in Canada. It's richer than almost every place in Europe. So even if you're going to try to like single out Mississippi, because I used to say, hey, idiots, the whole country isn't Mississippi. But now it's like you can even just single out Mississippi and it's still richer than your country. So again, I'm not saying that to be an ass. I'm saying that in response to you having these totally delusional beliefs that somehow you're superior. And and you just hear all these stories about like Americans go to Europe and they get mistreated and how Canadians will like put the Canadian flag on their backpack so that people know that they're not Americans because they don't want to be treated the way Americans are treated over there. And it's like, fuck these guys, man. Like, why are we acting like this is some kind of like great relationship like I was taught in school, that these are our buddies? These people fucking hate us. The only reason why they have a relationship with us is because of what they're getting out of it. They're getting us to defend them. And then they're turning around and talking about how we're savages because we have a military. But then they have a relationship with us so that they can take advantage of our military, so they can spend all their money on social programs, so that they can then say that we're savages because we don't have the social programs. It's insane that we put up with this. And Donald Trump is 100% correct about this. I mean, let's just get it out in the open, you know? Like, you don't like us, okay. So why are we doing all this shit for you? And why do you think we should do? Explain to us why we should do all this shit. If we're these horrible people, we're these horrible capitalists, and we're obnoxious. Sometimes they'll say we're obnoxious, then other times they'll say we're too friendly. You know, we're stupid because we're too friendly or whatever. Whatever it is, then why the fuck do you want us to spend all this money on you? And why do you want us to do all this cooperation with you if we suck so much? You know, I mean, we don't you don't have to be our enemy. We'll cooperate with you when it makes sense to do so. But Americans need to wake up to, like, we're being totally manipulated by people that we think are our friends, and they're not our friends. They hate our fucking guts.